I will start the recording also, Suchita. Tell me when to do that.
Yeah. You can start in like a second. Yeah, you can start now.
I'll start the recording. We are not going live.
The recording on.
Just the recording. All our cameras are working. Pavan, if you can also switch on yours. Yeah. Let us know when to start. Manisha, we'll tell you when to start because right now we don't have any deaf participants here, but in the audience we would be having. We can also test our audios if we want, if all of us are audible.
So Sabha, I'm just checking on YouTube
Yeah.
and we're live. And actually, like it's not just the spotlighted, I can see like all of us.
Okay.
Whoever camera is on, it's in the gallery mode.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's when we're starting, we're showing all of us. And then,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So Sabha, I'm just checking on YouTube and we're live.
Icon has come on.
We're set to start, Suchita.
Yeah.
Good morning. I am Sabha and I am your host for today. On the International Day of Education, we are here for a conversation on partnering with systems to transform education. Dream a Dream for the last 25 years has been working with young people who are facing adversity and trying to find ways in which we can empower them to move from adversity to thriving. Over the first 10 years that we were working with young people, we went ahead and developed a creative life skills methodology, which basically empowers and enables their agency to face life's challenges. After nearly 10 to 12 years of working with young people, we realized we have to also scale the impact of our work. And that is when we took our work at Dream a Dream to teachers. When we started working with teachers, we basically empowered and enabled them to create exciting, fun learning environment in their classroom. To reimagine the purpose of education and to ensure that thriving becomes the purpose of education for every young person in India, we started working with in collaboration with state governments and also with different organizations which work with young people. We currently work with 6 state governments across India. We also believe in collaboration to bring about systemic level change. Our work today touches nearly 2.2 million children all across India, and we have worked with 44,000 educators all across India. In our panel today, we have an exciting and amazing lineup of speakers. So we have team members from Dream a Dream who have been part of different partnerships in different regions of India. I will take some time to just introduce all of them now. So we have Pavan, who is from Delhi. We have Simrit from Uttarakhand. We have Varsha, who is from Jharkhand. we have Kethosino from Nagaland, Priya from Telangana, Renuka from Karnataka, and we have Pallavi, who heads national partnerships for us. I will also like to introduce and appreciate our sign language interpreters, Preeti and Manisha, who are helping us make this conversation more inclusive and accessible. To all the people who are watching us live on YouTube, please share your thoughts, comments, ideas, questions. We will be taking up your questions in the last 15 minutes, around 11:45. In case we are not able to respond to all of your questions, we will respond to the comments after the live. And I will also run this conversation in both Hindi and English. Towards the end, I'll try and summarize the conversation in both languages. So moving on, today we have the first question for today is a check-in question, which is for all our panelists today. So the first question on the International Day of Education is, if there's one thing you want to unlearn about education, then what will it be? So maybe we'll start with you, Pavan.
Thank you, Sabha, and good morning, everyone. तो एज अ अदलन अगर एक चीज जो मैं करना चाहूँगा वो होगा कि फेलियर को एक टैबू ना समझ के एजुकेशन सिस्टम में उसे एज अ ग्रोथ के उस तरह एज अ लर्निंग किस तरह देख सकता हूँ फेलियर को, तो उसकी और मैं उसको चेंज करना चाहूँगा, अनलर्न करना चाहूँगा.
Thank you, Pavan. We will move on to Varsha. Varsha, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Sabha. Yeah. So, what I want to unlearn would be, I think, education is not just about acquiring subjective knowledge, but it is also about having these life skills, that we are trying to integrate within education system. So, yeah, because even when I was I was a part of education system, we did not have these kind of, value integration, skill integration. So that's what I want to unlearn, that it's not just about learning about subjects, but it's more than that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Varsha. Priya, would you like to share your ideas on this?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Sabha. Good morning, everyone. Lot of unlearnings, but if I have to pick one, it would be that it's not about education is not about what to think and feel, but it's about how to think and feel.
Amazing. Beautifully put there, Priya. Simrit, what about you? If you had to unlearn one thing to reimagine education, what would it be?
Thank you, Sabha. So I would like to believe that education does not stop when you earn a degree or you land a job. It's a lifelong process to learn, to learn to be how to be sustainable individuals and how to treat the entire world as one family.
Thank you, Simrit. Moving on to Renuka.
Hello, good morning, everyone. One thing I wish to unlearn from the education system is that learning for getting good marks. I think the learning should be the process of learning for lead the life. That's what I believe.
Wow, beautifully put. Thank you, Renuka. Kethosino.
Hi, Sabha. Thank you for the question. Even I resonate with what Renuka had said. For me, I want to unlearn the overemphasis of, standardized testing or exams. Like, why should exams subjectify if a student is successful or not? Like, there are so many values and skills that a student has. So looking at the holistic perspective of a student is what I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ketho. And moving to our last speaker, Pallavi. Pallavi, please share your thoughts as well.
Hi. So I think if one thing, I mean, there are a lot of things I think everybody has shared so much. It's very difficult to just choose one. But I think arrogance that because I know more than you, I score more marks than you, or my language
is better than you. My ideas are more important than you. I think all of that, which somehow education system puts in us, I would like to unlearn that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pallavi. So as all of you have heard, we have a group of speakers who all have different things that they want to unlearn about education and to reimagine it. So maybe that's a great setting to maybe the first question for today that I have from Pawan. So Pawan, आपसे हम थोड़ा इसको ब्रेक करना चाहेंगे इस पूरे कॉन्सेप्ट को जब हम बोलते हैं पार्टनरिंग विद सिस्टम्स. तो एक जो ये टर्म है सिस्टम्स, पहले उससे हम क्या मीन करते हैं और सिस्टम्स डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन क्या है, अगर ये आप दो चीजों पे हमें थोड़ा बताएं.
थैंक यू सबा. तो बेसिकली जब हम सिस्टम वर्ड सुनते हैं ना, तो ऐसा स्कूल में जब पहली बार हमने सिस्टम सुना था, तो वो अगर हम कनेक्ट करेंगे ना, तो सीधे दिमाग में आता है सोलर सिस्टम. जो पहला जो मतलब ऐसे कल मैं बात कर रहा था अपने बेटे से, तो उसने भी यही कहा कि सिस्टम सोलर सिस्टम. तो वहां से वो कनेक्ट हुआ. कनेक्ट होते हुए तो जो सोचे कि एक प्रोसेस बाय प्रोसेस कुछ चीज हम करते हैं, स्टेप बाय स्टेप हम कुछ चीज करते हैं, और हर उसमें बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं जो अपना अपना काम कर रहे होते हैं, और वो काम किसी गोल को पूरा करने के लिए होता है. जैसे अगर हम सोलर सिस्टम देखेंगे तो उसमें बहुत सारे सन है, मून है, स्टार्स है, पार्टिकल्स हैं, सब मिलके अपना अपना स्टेप बाय स्टेप कुछ काम कर रहे हैं. और उनका गोल क्या है कि अर्थ में लाइफ जो हम लोग हैं, हम जीवित रहे, हमारी लाइफ साइकिल जो है वो चलती रहे. तो एक गोल के लिए कुछ लोग मिलके एक सिस्टम क्रिएट करते हैं. तो एक नेचुरल सिस्टम है जिसके लिए हम लोग अभी यहाँ पे सांस ले पा रहे हैं, तो वो अपना काम कर रहा है. तो इस तरह तो एक सिस्टम जो बड़े उसमें एक छोटे बच्चे के नजरिए से इस तरह एक हम देख सकते हैं. अब जब हम एजुकेशन सिस्टम की बात करते हैं, जिस सिस्टम में हम काम कर रहे हैं, तो यहाँ पे जितने भी लोग एक बच्चे के साथ जितने भी लोग जुड़े हुए हैं, हम उनको सिस्टम का पार्ट समझते हैं. चाहे वो टीचर्स हो, चाहे हम पेरेंट्स हो, चाहे स्टेक होल्डर्स हो, प्रिंसिपल्स हो, जो लीडरशिप रोल पे है एजुकेशन सिस्टम में, इन सबको हम एज अ पार्ट मानते हैं उस बच्चे के, कि उसको किस तरह वो लोग सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं, उसको आगे ग्रो करने में किस तरह हेल्प कर सकते हैं. तो इस तरह हम सिस्टम की ओर देखते हैं, मतलब एजुकेशन सिस्टम को. तो अब बात करते हैं हम जैसे सिस्टम डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन की. हम जब यहाँ पे आते हैं तो हम सिस्टम डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन में हम क्या अलग करेंगे. तो सिस्टम ऑलरेडी बहुत बड़ा है, और ऑलरेडी हम जैसे आपने शुरुआत किया था, हमने काफी समय से काम किया है. तो एक 20 इयर्स का जो लर्निंग था, और हमें ये भी समझ में आ रहा था कि एक रोल जो होता है बच्चे की जिंदगी में, एक एडल्ट का रोल, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. तो हम किस तरह अपने आप को नॉट बिकमिंग लार्ज, बट जो हमारा इम्पैक्ट, जो हम स्मॉल लेवल पे जो इम्पैक्ट कर रहे थे, उस इम्पैक्ट को कैसे एक्सपेंड कर सके. तो वहां से जो हमारी लर्निंग्स है, उसके साथ हम गवर्नमेंट के साथ मिलके उसको कंसेप्चुलाइज करके, नॉट कि हम उन्हें अपना कुछ दे रहे हैं, कि मिलके कुछ बना सके. तो वो जब हम डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करते हैं एज अ रोल मॉडलिंग, तो वो सिस्टम हमें कैच करता है कि हाँ, इस तरह भी कुछ हो सकता है, इस तरह भी इनके केस स्टडीज है. तो वो समझ के हम लोग कुछ नया सिस्टम डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन में कुछ नया कर सकते हैं बच्चों के लिए, ताकि वो अपने लाइफ में थ्राइव कर सके, या कुछ अपने पोटेंशियल्स पे और आगे बढ़ सके.
थैंक यू पवन. एक और इससे एक एडेड क्वेश्चन ये है कि आपने अभी बोला कि कैसे हम सरकार के साथ कोलैबोरेटिव वे में काम करते हैं. तो सरकार के साथ शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में काम करने की आवश्यकता या जरूरत कैसे सामने आई, मतलब ये कैसे स्टार्ट हुआ ये पूरा प्रोसेस.
तो एक तो ये समझ में आ गया था ड्रीमर ड्रीम में जब हम काम करते, एक बहुत बड़ा जर्नी है ड्रीमर ड्रीम का. तो वहाँ ये तो समझ में आ गया था कि हमें इम्पैक्ट को एक्सपेंड करना है. और जो हमें ये भी पता था कि एक जो गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम है, वही एक ऐसा एरिया है जहाँ पे फुल ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, जहाँ टीचर्स है जो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्ट में है, एग्जिस्टेंस मतलब उनका अपना एग्जिस्ट है. तो हम लोग वहाँ पे कोशिश, इतना समझ में आया था कि हम उनके पोटेंशियल को, उनकी क्रिएटिविटी और एम्पैथी को किस तरह हम अनलॉक करें, ताकि वो बच्चे के पोटेंशियल और क्रिएटिविटी को अनलॉक कर सके. तो उस तरह जब हम, और साथ ही साथ आपका एसडीजी जब स्टार्ट हुआ, एसडीजी में एक तीसरा पार्ट आया, ये एसडीजी 3 जो है आपका, हमारा फिजिकल हेल्थ एंड वेलबींग. तो इसने भी कहीं ना कहीं लाइफ स्किल्स और इन सब की बात करनी स्टार्ट कर दी थी. और गवर्नमेंट जब स्टार्ट कर रहा था इस चीज पे काम, जैसे दिल्ली में स्टार्ट हुआ था, तो दिल्ली भी गवर्नमेंट एक कुछ नई चीज करने का प्लान कर रहा था. तो एक कोलैबोरेटिव माइंडसेट जहाँ एक आया कि हमें भी कुछ चाहिए, और ड्रीमर ड्रीम का एक्सपर्टीज करिकुलम, पेडागोजी, टीचर ट्रेनिंग और असेसमेंट, इन चारों एरिया में है. तो इन 4 एरिया को गवर्नमेंट ने भी हमें वो स्पेस दिया. वो दोनों का एक होल्डिंग स्पेस वाला एक एरिया था, जहाँ एक दूसरे के स्पेस होल्ड हो पाया, और उसे कंसेप्टलाइज करके एक नया करिकुलम डेवलप किया गया. तो वो एक नीड यहीं पे समझ में आई, किस तरह हम जो बच्चे एडवर्सिटीज से आते हैं, और लार्ज नंबर ऑफ बच्चे जो स्कूल्स में आते हैं, स्कूल एजुकेशन में, पब्लिक एजुकेशन सिस्टम में बहुत एडवर्सिटीज से आते हैं, तो उस एडवर्सिटीज की अंडरस्टैंडिंग किस तरह बिल्ड कर सके। और अगर देखा जाए ना कि बच्चे जो है, अगर एक बच्चे की तरह सोचते हैं हम, अगर बच्चा हम स्कूल भेज रहे हैं तो वो कहीं ना कहीं सोचता है मेरे मम्मी पापा मुझे जबरदस्ती स्कूल भेज रहे हैं, मैं नेग्लेक्ट कर रहा है, ठीक है। और स्कूल में भी अगर उसे वो नेग्लिजेंस फील होगा एक बड़े लेवल पे, तो वो उसके जो नेग्लेक्ट जब आप होते हैं तो ये कहीं ना कहीं आपका बाद में बहुत बड़ा ट्रॉमा भी बन सकता है। तो हमें स्कूल में भी ऐसा एक माहौल क्रिएट करना पड़ता है जहाँ उनको लगे कि ये मेरा प्लेस है, आई बिलोंग टू दिस प्लेस, तो बच्चे उस प्लेस को बिलोंग कर सके। ऐसी एक ये समझ में आया कि हमें ऐसा एक स्कूल सिस्टम क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा जो इनके लिए इमोशनल लर्निंग स्पेस भी क्रिएट कर पाए। तो तब ये जब नीड समझ में आए तो हमने एक लार्ज एक्सपेंडिंग इम्पैक्ट के लिए गवर्नमेंट पार्टनरशिप की ओर जाने की ओर सोची।
थैंक यू सो मच पवन, धन्यवाद ये सब शेयर करने के लिए। अब मैं वर्षा से पूछना चाहूंगी। वर्षा झारखंड क्षेत्र में काफी काम करती हैं, तो वर्षा आपसे ये जानना चाहेंगे कि जो सिस्टम्स चेंज की बात पवन ने की कि हमें आवश्यकता महसूस हुई, क्योंकि अगर लार्ज स्केल इम्पैक्ट चाहिए, अगर बहुत करोड़ों बच्चों को तक अगर पहुंचना है, तो बहुत जरूरी है कि हम कोलैबोरेटिव अप्रोच से सरकार के साथ काम करें। तो इस सिस्टम्स चेंज के काम को करने का अप्रोच क्या है, मतलब ये शुरुआत कैसे हो सकती है इसकी, और इसको इफेक्टिव बनाने के लिए कि ये असरदार रहे, ये दोनों पहले तो शुरुआत कैसे करें और इसको असरदार कैसे बनाएं, उन दोनों चीजों पे अगर आप हमें थोड़ा बताएंगे।
Thank you so much for the question, Sabha. So whenever we hear system change, हमें ऐसा लगता है it is something really big, really huge, takes generation. But but it is basically system change is about when we take small step to change the ongoing narrative. So, and this is what has happened in Jharkhand also. Although it doesn't sound as easy, it is a very complex process, and it needs us to understand, the educational landscape, the weaknesses and strength of the education landscape. And what has helped us in Jharkhand is, before implementing social emotional learning in Jharkhand, was for us to have an understanding about technical understanding about the implementation, and then understanding of local context, also political scenarios, the scope of collaborative partnership that that is there, or just to understand what is the scope of it, also to understand the flexibility, the adaptability of the system itself, that how they are approaching it, to understand that is also very important. And then there is a shared vision to scale and sustain the impact, whatever impact that we are visioning, to sustain that impact in the initiative. So, with Project Sampurna, how we approached it was, the very first thing that we did was contextualization. And it is very important for us to understand the adversity of young people and what are their needs. And then further, we have designed the curriculum, keeping those contextual understanding intact. And because, the approach that we might take in Delhi for integration of social emotional learning can be totally different from the approach in Jharkhand, is because of the different kind of adversity that comes with the geographical context. So these things we have taken into the consideration before approaching for integration of social emotional learning. The second thing was for us was identification of government champions. When we say government champion, basically identifying those people from the government who can help us, because scaling up cannot just happen without government support. So we were able to identify the kind of support that we need from the government. So we have identified those government officials who aligns with the vision and who will support us to take this initiative forward, in the sense that to present that vision to the higher government officials, to the Department of Education. So in Jharkhand, we were able to identify such government champion, who was our SPO, Abhinav sir. So he has sort of supported us, to how to vision this integration of social emotional learning, how to go for the curriculum that we have developed. So yeah. And then the third thing, which is also very important, is the system strengthening. So when we bring something new on the table, it's really important to also sort of engage the stakeholders at each level on the understanding about it, to bring that norm. Social emotional learning is something which is very new for Jharkhand. So what we did was we identified people from the ground to the official level. So we had BRC, CRC, we had block resource person, community resource person, to teachers, we had direct faculties, government officials. So we have been timely sort of capacitating them, training them, and ensuring that they go through this experiential learning journey that we are trying to bring that among students. So once they will go through the same, it will help us to it will help them to implement it in a better manner. So that's what we have been doing, so that they can deliver it well. So system strengthening is something that it needs to happen timely. It needs to happen in until you are implementing it. And then we have the last thing, that is why we are doing system strengthening, is to build the ownership and then moving towards sustainability. So it is also very important that when you are implementing, or when we are implementing social emotional learning, the government take the ownership of this implementation. Government like once the implementing agency goes away from the field, they can take it forward. So that's what we also approached this intervention in that manner, that there is a ownership, so that the program sustains even further implementing agency goes away. So this is how we have approached when in terms of, because system change for us was integration of social emotional learning in the Jharkhand educational landscape, and it is something very new concept. So now coming to the collaborative approach, how we have approached, because Harsh Johar curriculum that we are implementing in Jharkhand, we are doing it through a consortium, Sampurna Consortium. So again, scaling up would need multiple actors to collaborate. So how we have understood is to understand the role of each stakeholder based on their strength. And the one thing that we are focused on is the value and vision alignment. So all the partners who are coming together, who are collaborating together, needs to have that sort of alignment in the vision, in the purpose, in the experience, so that even though all these individual collaborators might have different goals, for the longer term, but all of them have come together and they've shared a vision that social integration, social emotional learning integration is really integral for the Jharkhand educational landscape. And that is also very important, be it government, be it the private or civil society. So yeah. And then the second thing is also to identify the strength of each collaborators, because that's how, I'll give the example how we are doing in Sampurna Consortium is Dreamer Dream is supporting the consortium in development of curriculum and in development and in conducting all the trainings, because that's where our strength lies. At the same time, we have our collaborators, our partners who are helping us in building, strengthening the government relationships. We have our partners who are also working on the ground implementation, because that's where their strength lies. So it is also very important to identify such strength and then collaborate, that makes it more meaningful intervention. The third thing, again, it is also sort of a resource pooling, that how we are leveraging those collective intelligence and working, with a collective mindset for a purpose which is larger than, our own, like organization, or which is larger than ourselves. So that is there. And then obviously very important that we have felt through this journey with Sampurna Consortium is a trust and meaningful communication, which is also very important, because once there is collaboration, there are different partners with sort of different goals. So it is very important that, a meaningful communication happens. There is a trust amongst each other. There is a mutual trust amongst the collaborator, and there is a very straightforward channel of communication. So, that is also very important when we work in a collaborative approach. So I think, yeah, that's But all in all, Sabha, what is the most important is the intention and the zeal that we are working, with to address those adversities. So yeah, I mean, that's it from my end. This is what I was able to understand through our intervention in Jharkhand. Thank you so much, Sabha.
Thank you, Varsha. I think you have really nicely summarized it for us as to how do we approach system change work, how it's so collaborative in nature, and we play to our strengths. So every collaborative partner has a specific strength that they bring to basically just transform education for every young person in India. Priya, the question that I have for you is more around that when we started working with partners, collaborations, governments, what we realized very early on is that one size fits all approach is not going to work. But why do you think that insight came in? What were the reasons behind that insight? And why do you think this approach no longer works in education transformation work?
Thanks, Sabha, for the question. I think I would start with a very small story that we've heard. I think all of us have come across this. So there was a king who had 6, blind courtiers with him, right? So in his kingdom, an elephant was sent, as a gift to the king, and they've never had this animal they've never seen it. So he sends his courtiers to go and figure out what is this creature, right? So this is a picture of here, small picture over here. So all of them, they go and they try to touch and feel the elephant. One is it's so huge that, one person or one courtier cannot actually touch all parts of the elephant and figure how it looks like on a whole, right? So they come back and some of them say that it's, it looks like a trunk, it looks like a pipe. Some of them say it's like, the huge column. Some say it's like a paintbrush, So I think this metaphor has been helping us because when we work with complex systems, we realize that one, it's so huge and it is so complex. So somewhere we get a full picture when we speak and listen to each other. And somewhere we also realize that there are many truths. So everybody who's been trying to describe something about the elephant, it's their own truth. And it may not be complete. Right? So this is the approach that we also take, to work with the systems over here. And how do we actually go touch and feel the system? There are a few indicators. Also considering the implementer realities, which are very variable, right? Which is usually not taken into consideration. I'll give a small example, right? So when we are working on, let's say, life skills or a social emotional learning curriculum, some of the fundamental or the basics of the curriculum would be about, teachers asking students about their emotions, how they feel, right? But for a teacher to be able to ask that, they should have been asked these questions. They should be comfortable in sharing. They should be able to hold that space and accept all kinds of emotions in the classroom, right? So somewhere we realize that we have to change a little bit of our design based on what will work, based on what is the context on ground. So somewhere when we plan for an intervention also, usually you plan based on the time, based on availability of teachers, students, and certain factors. But there are so many multiple factors like teacher motivation, teachers' emotional bandwidth. Right? So these are all some of the facts that we work on at the ground, which is also a constant in the system. Right?
Yeah.
So then when we actually entered into working with them on ground, we realized that these are the additional factors which are coming up. And when we think of system and scale, understanding the complexity, communicating, believing that everybody is speaking their own truth, also believing that for something to be right, something else need not be wrong. So these are some of the approaches and mindsets that we have learned and we are working with in order to navigate this complexity that we have on ground.
Yeah. Also, the other additional question to this is that you just spoke about how complex it can get, because everyone has their own version of truth, and basically to bring it all together and to have just one purpose in mind and an intention in mind towards which you're working. Can you maybe share an example or something that you experienced on the field of how extremely complex working and collaborating with diverse systems can become?
Yeah. All right. I may not be able to share an example, but I can explain how complex it can get. One is somewhere I think all of us who are here work very hard, be it the government systems, be it our partner organizations, be it the teachers or the system that we work with the students. They all really work very hard. But somewhere I think we all have very fractured goals and intentions. So we go very deep into particular intentions. At the same time, we lose sight of what others are also doing and valuing what others are doing. Right? So for instance, I'll give you an example of this. We work with a tribal welfare system over here. So we notice that teachers, and a lot of teachers have spoken so many times that, many of our children don't speak out. They're very inhibited. But whereas if you take the cultural context, and so then a lot of interventions come up where, we want to give opportunities for children to speak, whether, find out if they can speak in smaller groups or is the language a barrier, right? But then what we figured out later on from the others also who are working in the same space is that in their communities, in the tribal communities, they are not encouraged to talk a lot with strangers or with people outside of their communities. Right? So while you are trying to solve for, let's say, communication, confidence, inhibition, you need the entire view of, why certain things are happening. So this is where that collaboration piece comes into. Then all of you sit together who are working with the same, stakeholders and talk about it. And that's when the complexity emerges.
Thank you so much, Priya. I think the example you shared really brought to life the kind of maybe interpretation that each of us have of a specific problem or a challenge, and how it varies depending on the context and the young people whom we work with and the culture that they belong to also. Which also then brings me to Simrit. Simrit has been working in Jharkhand for many years now. Uttarakhand for many years now. Simrit, there is a lot of contextualization of curriculum as well as teacher trainings that has happened in the state of Uttarakhand. थोड़ा आपसे ये जानना चाहेंगे कि पहला जैसे प्रिया ने शेयर किया कि वहां पे जरूरत इसलिए थी क्योंकि कॉन्टेक्स्ट डिफरेंट था, वहां के कुछ ट्रेडिशन और नॉर्म्स हैं जो हमें समझने पड़े ताकि हम उस हिसाब से करिकुलम और ट्रेनिंग डिजाइन वहां पे ले जाएंगे। इस संदर्भ में उत्तराखंड में किस टाइप का आपने कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइजेशन किया और ये पूरी एक्सरसाइज होती कैसे है? जैसे अगर उसको हम ब्रेक डाउन करना चाहें तो क्या क्या उसमें स्टेप्स इन्वॉल्व होते हैं?
थैंक यू सबा फॉर दिस क्वेश्चन। सो जैसे आपके क्वेश्चन में एक वर्ड है कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइजेशन। सो पहले हम समझते हैं कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइजेशन क्या होता है। से कि मुझे डिलीवर करना है, से कंटेंट है या करिकुलम है या ट्रेनिंग है, मैं कुछ डिलीवर कर रही हूँ। नाउ आई विल सी कि मेरे बेनिफिशियरी कौन है, वो कहाँ से आ रहे हैं। सो अब मैं कैसे अपनी डिलीवरी को अपने बेनिफिशियरी के हिसाब से मीनिंगफुल सिचुएशंस के साथ कनेक्ट करूं जो उनकी डेली लाइफ से रिलेटेड हो, ताकि उससे कनेक्टेड फील करे, रिलेटेबल फील करे। सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल जैसे अभी यहाँ पे आनंदम पाठ्यचर्या चल रहा है। सो आनंदम पाठ्यचर्या में लाइफ स्किल्स है, सोशल इमोशनल लर्निंग है, वैल्यूज है। है ना। सो हमने उनके वैल्यूज जो हैं वो उत्तराखंड में उनको कैसी वैल्यूज की जरूरत है, किन वैल्यूज के साथ वो ज्यादा, जो उत्तराखंड का परिवेश है वो ज्यादा रिलेटेबल है, सो हमने वैसे कनेक्ट किया टू SCL और लाइफ स्किल्स जो उनको फ्यूचर रेडी भी करे ना। सो उस वजह से हमने एनविजन करके उसको स्टार्ट किया। सो नाउ अब जो हम लोग करिकुलम दे रहे हैं जिसमें हमारे मेजर बेनिफिशरीज आर स्टूडेंट्स, सो अब वो करिकुलम को मैं कैसे कंटेक्चुअलाइज करूं कि स्टूडेंट्स को लगे कि ये मेरा है, मेरा इसमें सब कुछ जो है वो मेरे लिए है। सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल उसमें स्टोरी एक कंपोनेंट है। सो अगर मैं उनको बोलूं उत्तराखंड के बच्चों को कि देयर इज अ प्लेस भोपाल के पास मध्य प्रदेश में बेतुल नाम से, सो उन्होंने वो जगह कम प्रोबेबिलिटी होगी कि उन्होंने उस जगह का नाम सुना होगा। लेकिन अगर मैं उनको बोलूं कि उत्तराखंड में पौड़ी डिस्ट्रिक्ट में यमकेश्वर ब्लॉक में नीलकंठ प्लेस है, सो चांसेस आर हाई कि वो उससे ज्यादा रिलेट करेंगे। अब जैसे मैं पंजाब से हूँ, सो हमारे यहाँ पे सर्दियों में ना एक डेलिकेसी होती है पिन्नी, हम उसको पिन्नियां बोलते हैं, खोए की बनती है। सो अगर मैं पिन्नियों का रेफरेंस दूंगी उनको, क्योंकि उन्होंने हो सकता है बहुत कम ने खाई हो लेकिन ज्यादातर ने नहीं खाई होगी, लेकिन अगर मैं उनको अरसे का एग्जांपल दूं, वो यहाँ पे चावल की डेलिकेसी होती है जो यूजुअली फेस्टिवल्स में बनती है, सो वो ज्यादा रिलेट कर पाएंगे। सो दैट इज हाउ कंटेक्चुअलाइजेशन हैपेंस। सो जैसे अभी हमारी कुछ एक स्टोरी है, उसका जो टाइटल है वो दगड़िया है। सो दगड़िया मीन्स फ्रेंड इन गढ़वाली। यहाँ पे 2 रीजन्स हैं, गढ़वाल और कुमाऊं। सो उनके एलिमेंट्स को हम कैसे लेके आए अपने करिकुलम में, सो बेसिकली दिस इज कंटेक्चुअलाइजेशन। सो ये होता ऐसे है, हमारे पास यहाँ पे स्टेट की कंटेंट ग्रुप की एक टीम है। सो हम उस टीम को कितना डाइवर्स बनाते हैं, उसमें न्यू जनरेशन वाले टीचर्स भी हों, विद एक्सपीरियंस वाले टीचर्स भी हों, अलग अलग रीजन्स वाले टीचर्स हों, है ना। कुछ हमारे जो टीचर्स हों वो हमारे सिटी वाले प्लेन एरियाज के हों, कुछ हमारे माउंटेन वाले इंटीरियर रीजन्स के हों, ताकि जब वो इकट्ठे आए तो जो हमारे पास करिकुलम बने वो डाइवर्सिफाइड हो, उसमें इंक्लूसिविटी हो, उसमें हम लोग रिलीजन का भी ध्यान रखें, कौन कौन से परिवेश से हमारे पास बच्चे आने। सो दिस इज हाउ इट हैपेंस। एंड जब हम ट्रेनिंग्स में जाते हैं, सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल पिथौरागढ़ यहाँ का वन ऑफ द मोस्ट दूर वाला एरिया है। सो अब वहां से कोई टीचर मान लीजिए देहरादून आ रहे हैं ट्रेनिंग में, सो वो मिनिमम टू मिनिमम 12 to 13 आवर्स की जर्नी करके आ रहे हैं। नाउ इफ आई एक्सपेक्ट कि मैं उनको सुबह से 10 बजे से लेके शाम के 5 बजे तक आई कीप ऑन शेयरिंग व्हाट आई हैव टू से एंड नॉट give them space ki what they have to say, what they are bringing to the table, what they are bringing to this workshop, so that won't be contextualization. It is also to understand the needs हमारे beneficiaries की क्या है, to give them a space जहाँ पे वो हमारे साथ आके मिल पाए, to meet them where they are. So this is how the contextualization is happening here.
थैंक यू सो मच सिमरत। बहुत सारे आपने ऐसे एग्जाम्पल्स दिए जो कि बहुत ही हम रिलेट कर सकते हैं कि कई बार ये चीजें जब हम करिकुलम डिजाइन करते हैं या टीचर ट्रेनिंग डिजाइन करते हैं, हम इन चीजों का, इन बारीकियों का ध्यान उतना हो सकता है कई बार नहीं दे पाते हैं। तो आपके एग्जाम्पल से काफी ये समझ में आया कि क्यों ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, ताकि लोग कनेक्ट कर पाए, उनके नीड के अकॉर्डिंग हो जो भी डिजाइन है, और उनकी नीड को मीट कर रहा हो कहीं पे, तो कमिंग टुगेदर बेसिकली। थैंक यू सो मच सिमरत। The next question that I have is for Renuka. Renuka, we have spoken a lot about working with systems, working on systemic change.
Yeah.
Systemic change work is definitely not easy, as all our speakers who have spoken till now have shared, that there are so many diverse stakeholders and each have their own interpretation, understanding, expectation, intention of working in this particular system. So I'm sure there is a lot of complexity that comes about. There's a lot of challenges also that comes across. There are also expectations that collaborative partners might have out of each other. So my question to you is, how do you manage the challenges and expectations that arise from complex systems change work?
Yeah, thank you, Zaba. I think it's a great question. I think in our interactions, everyone shared while sharing their this thing. So they shared the challenges also in the lighter note. I think we all of us navigate interdependence system of education, so which have complex, I think, interconnections, and we have a unique relationship between among stakeholders and also with other partners also. I think in Karnataka, we work with different departments of education system. We are working with 3 departments, and each department has different challenges, like transfer of decision makers. That is a major challenge. I think while we are having sessions, I think 100% attendance from the teachers, because they have a different what do you say, different responsibility to lead, right? So I think that I think 70 one of the department has many, I think 70% of the teachers are from contractual basis. I think that's a major challenge, because if they want to attend the training, they want to attend this, but because this training, they feel that this is necessary for them. At the same time, they want to serve other things in their department. I think that's conflicts happening. And also one of the major challenge what we are seeing in department is like lack of nodal officers for particular program. I think that's that leads to a lack of communication among partners and the stakeholders within the department. I think the communication gaps are happening because of lack of nodal officers. I think these are the challenges, the major challenges I'm saying. But what I learned from these challenges, I think working with the system demonstration, what I have learned is be with them, be with the stakeholders, listen to them, and understand what their ideas, what their challenges, and consider those challenges as a possibilities for changes. And those nuances we have to identify. And during Varsha, while she was speaking, she was saying that we have to identify those change makers in our system, so that it will lead us to bring changes in the system. That's what I have learned it. And what I believe is, as a change makers, as a policy makers, educators, we have to demonstrate what we are and who we are in the system, so that while having a conversation with the stakeholders, I think those stakeholders will show the way what we have to do in the process, and they will guide us, they will facilitate us actually. I think that's how we can create or make changes together. That's a collaboration works. I think, yeah. I think from past 3 years, what I've learned is collaboration is a magic we can see sometimes. I think that energy, believing in those, believing in the process of changing, I think that leads, that believeness, that energy flows in the system, so that system will take care of everything. I feel that expectations also one of the, for example, expectations. So when I say, so I think we are now globally identified as a life skill champions, right? So one of the partner department was approaching us to scale this idea across Karnataka. Then we were thinking, we just listened them, like what they wanted, what kind of ideas they had. Then we listened them, but considering our bandwidth and other logistical things, we said, we paused and listened, and we said that, yeah, we will pilot this year. We'll understand from the ground what they need actually. Instead of pitching our ideas, just understand the ground, what they need. Based on that, we can contextualize the design, and we can cater to the needs we felt. I think that's how we starting. We will not, whatever comes from the department will not accept, but we will process, we will listen, and we will learn from them, and we will lead or co-lead the process. That's what we are doing right now in Karnataka. I think all of us are doing same thing, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think very beautifully put there, Renuka, that we do listen and accept opinions that everyone holds, but also having worked with young people for so long, there's a certain level of expertise that we have also developed over the years, which is why somewhere when we share these learnings and insight, it actually resonates also with our partners. and the different stakeholders that we work with. Thank you so much for sharing that, Renuka. It brings me to a question that I have for Kethosino. Kethosino, we have been working with Nagaland. It's relatively new partnership that we have with the government of Nagaland. Often, what I have also noticed is that people who work in NGOs, non-profit organizations, we really are very committed and motivated to bring about change. And that slight level of impatience is there, where Renuka said it takes time, like even Varsha mentioned, I think all the speakers, that it takes time for the system to shift. So as a CSO or as an NGO, how do we approach this entire system change work? One is that. And also, what is the unlearning that is required from our end? Like many a times, we might be over-ambitious in what we want to achieve, maybe within a very short span of time. So what are some of the things that CSOs and NGOs have to unlearn when they are getting into collaborative system change work?
Yeah, thank you, Sabah, for the question. Resonating with the previous panelists, one of the first things that come to mind when thinking about the unlearning that CSOs or NGOs require is that there may be a need to unlearn the assumptions about the efficiency or the ineffectiveness of the government processes, and just recognizing that the state governments, they operate with their own complex systems and they have their own set of challenges. So that understanding can really help us to develop a more collaborative approach. And one example from our experience here in Nagaland is when we were collaborating with the system, we encountered that government officials, like Renuka had said, they, when they are posted in certain district and they reach that level of state in charge or something like that, they are posted at a time when they're about to reach their retirement age, and they only have service of like 6 to 5 months or like less than that also. So when we were collaborating with them, we encountered that, and it became very difficult for us, because we had to re-establish the rapport with them, and then we had to rebuild everything from scratch again with the new in charge. So while we were doing that, we just like we felt very discouraged, and then we realized that the system is not going to work. But while working with them, we realized that it's not that the people who are in charge are not efficient or anything of that sort, or they are not capable, but they're actually willing. So when we realized that, I started talking to them and then building the rapport again with them, it really helped us to develop that collaborative mindset with them, and then just letting go of those perceived that preconceived assumption that we may have help us in developing the rapport, and then just trusting the process of the government. And second thing is, we NGOs, we have a more flexibility compared to the government entities. And similar to my previous point, unlearning can involve understanding and navigating the bureaucratic procedures that are present in the state, and then embracing the necessary protocols without compromising our own objectives. And then one of the examples that we faced was like while promoting the innovative teaching method, we encountered some resistance, especially like introducing new pedagogical approaches to the state education system. We had to unlearn that, we had to learn the assumption that ease of integrating progressive teaching method is not easy. We think that when we're introducing something very progressive, people will accept it easily, but that it was not as such. So we try to find ways of navigating, and then we try to actively engage with the officials, the teachers, the school head, and then by visiting their schools, talking to them, understanding what is their ground challenges, we designed our approach according to their needs. So post that, some of the few activities that we did in schools, based on our experiences with them, the results came out very positive. So the unlearning involved in this was just finding a common ground and understanding how both parties want to work together to achieve the shared goal, and at the same time respecting each other's objectives and all. And also what helped was showcasing the successful pilot models, as well as providing them the evidence of the positive outcomes. This gradually helped in gaining the acceptance for implementing this kind of more progressive, more flexible teaching methodologies. And lastly, aligning with the rest of the panelists have shared, for bridging the gap between the CSOs and the NGOs, NGOs, and the state government, it really requires effective communication. Like everyone have mentioned, keeping an open mind and just trying to engage in meaningful conversation with them, listening to their needs, listening to the perspective of the state partners, and creating that idea where creating that environment where ideas are shared and their concerns are shared constructively. This really helps in building that kind of bond and that kind of understanding between each other. And so and the last thing would be for building a very good relationship with the key government partners, identifying those key individuals and then building that kind of rapport with them really help in facilitating smoother collaboration. So these are some of the unlearnings and the remedies that we have experienced so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ketho. I think you have really shared some very deep insights on how often we have to meet our partners, collaborative partners, midway, and it takes time, it takes patience, it takes a lot of listening, and also a belief and a trust in the intention of the other person. So like long back when we were interviewing a government official, one of the things that she shared was that all of us want the best for our children. So just believing that, yes, the intention is there. How to then channelize that intention into action is something I think if we build evidence of our work, if we actually are able to project that this works and this is how it has been working, I think that goes a long way in developing trust and collaborating for change. So thank you so much, Ketho, for sharing all of that. We have heard from all the speakers on the different challenges, expectations, the different ways in which we have collaborated, what is working, what are some of the challenges we are facing. Which brings me to a question that I have from Pallavi. Pallavi works with national agencies. Pallavi, national agencies के साथ collaboration में काम करते हुए क्या ऐसी कोई एक story है which is a story of transformation that you have seen happening on the field? And if you could share that with us.
Thanks, Abha. Like when you say story, I think we have stories, not one story. But like the first image that comes to my mind is when I went to NCERT and it was a general meeting, but I noticed that everybody was, they greet you with a smile. So I think we have this perception of government officers and people in government offices they're always busy or they're always finding excuses not to meet you. My experience has been very different. So I'll share a story from CBSE. CBSE के साथ हमारा 2 साल का partnership है, and we have worked very closely with Holistic Progress Card. And this is a story last Friday. So after getting everything done, a lot of back and forth, finally Holistic Progress Card launch हो चुका है. And then we were discussing कि हाँ ये launch तो हो चुका है, but life skills जो हम इतनी बात करते हैं, life skills कैसे आएंगे? Like how do you get that in the child? And then we were just having coffee and having that discussion. And I asked Dr. Pragya, who's the director of academic assessment, also the key stakeholder. And she, started narrating her story कि मुझे नहीं मालूम कहाँ से आएंगे, मुझे लाइफ स्किल मिले थे मेरे ट्रेन जर्नी से, कि जब मैं यूनिवर्सिटी में एज ए प्रोफेसर पढ़ाती थी और यूथ फेस्टिवल में मुझे बहुत सारे लड़कियों को लेके जाना होता था और कभी कभी ट्रेन मिस हो जाती थी, कभी बहुत सारे on the move you would face so many challenges, and that's how she felt that she learned her life skills. And I asked this question to Nupa May, the Vice Chancellor, when we were having an interaction with her, and she shared, I think she got that strength from the first day, जब वो teaching practice के अंदर in front of the entire crowd, when her experiment doesn't work out. So I think there are a lot of powerful stories in government systems which somehow do not get heard. वो जो एक ओवरऑल परसेप्शन है एक कोकोनट शेल की तरह, लाइक आपको लगा होगा कि बाहर से काफी हार्ड है, बट आई फील द सिस्टम इज अस एंड वी आर द सिस्टम. So I think that's the thought I have, that there's no separation between us. And going back to the same thing, that arrogance that maybe we know better than them, if we get rid of that perception and we go with that strength-based mindset, we'll meet them there.
Beautifully put there, Pallavi, especially because, yes, I think great things to pick from there, that maybe just understanding that everyone here who is in this, who is a stakeholder in this system, wants the best for our young people and children, and just believing and holding on to that trust and building those connections, understanding the needs of young people as well as the different stakeholders in the system, so that they are able to bring about change that they really envision and want to bring about. So thank you so much, Pallavi, for sharing that very powerful example with us. Which basically, listening to all of you has been an eye-opener for me, because there are a lot of things to pick up. We started with just understanding system से क्या मतलब है, what do we mean by systems, what is systems demonstration, क्या होता है ये सब चीजें. जब हम कहते हैं कि children do not learn in a silo, कोई भी बच्चा अगर शिक्षा प्रणाली में है तो वो अकेले सिर्फ उसको एक क्लास में बिठाना ही काफी नहीं है, उसे सिर्फ कोई भी तरह का सब्जेक्ट पढ़ाना ही इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है, बस उसे जिंदगी जीना, हाउ टू लिव लाइफ, दैट इज द मोस्ट क्रूशियल एंड इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट ऑफ एजुकेशन. जहाँ पे सिस्टमिक वर्क बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है, जहाँ हम सिर्फ बच्चे को नहीं देख के उसके आसपास के लोगों को, पेरेंट्स, टीचर्स, एवरी अदर कम्युनिटी मेंबर दे कम अक्रॉस, जितने भी गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं who are responsible for public education, उनके साथ काम करके how do we enable a mindset shift कि शिक्षा का उद्देश्य, the purpose of education is thriving of every child in India, irrespective of where they come from. So thank you all the speakers. I think we have covered long ground, and I'm sure once we will be getting comments on this live, we will be responding to it individually as well as a collective. I want to end with a question that I have for each one of you here. Maybe we'll start with Pavan. We started the questions with him. So the checkout question for today is, if in one word or in one phrase, we were to tell one key ingredient to reimagine education, कि शिक्षा को बदलने के लिए या शिक्षा को रीइमेजिन करने के लिए अगर एक की इंग्रेडिएंट की जरूरत है, तो वो की इंग्रेडिएंट क्या है?
एक तो मतलब सिस्टम के साथ तो एक ये सिस्टम तो सिस्टम के साथ ही काम करेगा ना, तो बहुत सारी चीजें, लेकिन फिर भी अगर मैं प्रायोरिटी देखूं तो टीचर ट्रेनिंग्स जो है उनको किस तरह और लाइवली बना सकते हैं. It will bring some changes in the education system.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pavan. We'll go on to Varsha.
That's a thinker actually, but if I'd say one key ingredient, I'll just put my beneficiaries, our children, so when things are being designed, keeping the children in center, children-centric, I think that would be somewhere we'll be successful in, education initiatives. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Varsha, being child-centric. We'll go on to Priya.
Yeah, that's a nice question, Sabha. I would say, I'm going to say two. I think it is sensitivity and resilience. So you need to be soft as well as strong.
That's a great irony. Be sensitive yet strong. Thank you so much, Priya. Simrit, क्या एक key ingredient है जो reimagine education, to reimagine education?
For me, it is be the change you wish to see in the world.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Simrit. Renuka, what about you?
I think be empathetic, and also while empathetic, be a patience to see the reimagine in education.
Yeah, empathy and patience.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ketalsino?
Yeah, for me too, it's empathy. I think empathy is really important when we think about changing. Without empathy, without that kind of compassion that we have, no change can really be impactful.
Okay, thank you so much. Pallavi, we come to you. What is the key ingredient to reimagine education?
I think being inclusive, right? Being inclusive across all barriers, like इतना इंक्लूजन कि आपको सोचना भी ना पड़े कि सामने वाले की जरूरत क्या है, उससे पहले ही it's there. It's not something that you think about. The child doesn't have to even say it. You understand it even before it is said. In terms of children with disabilities, without disabilities, from diverse backgrounds, like they all come with their needs when they come to the classroom. And if like empathy obviously is that ingredient, but if you're truly inclusive, I think we would understand their needs even before they can say it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Just we'll take this moment to thank all of you who are present here, all our speakers, even our sign language interpreters, Preeti, Manisha. Thank you so much for really making this conversation very powerful, something that has learnings for each one of us who have heard it or been a part of this. And I hope the dream that Pallavi just shared of just knowing what the child wants, the young person wants, even if they don't really say it out aloud. So that is a dream and a hope that we have from the education system, from all of us. So with that dream, we will be signing off. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
the
so much,
opportunity.
Sabha.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sabha.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, everyone.